The vast expanse of space stretched endlessly, glittering with distant stars and wandering comets. Among them, the royal ship of the alien empire drifted silently, its crystalline hull reflecting the faint light of nearby suns. Inside, the alien queen, Solara, sat upon her throne, her long, iridescent hair flowing like liquid silver. Her eyes, sharp and calculating, scanned the reports brought to her by her council. Solara had always trusted her advisors. They were clever, loyal, or so she believed. But today, a sense of unease clung to the air, as if the walls themselves whispered warnings she could not yet hear. "Your Majesty," said one counselor, a tall, angular being with skin like polished stone. "The negotiations on Crash Prime have been problematic. There are factions that doubt our intentions." Solara leaned forward, her voice calm but cold. "Doubt is a luxury we cannot afford. Trust, even more so." "Are you suggesting someone here cannot be trusted?" The counselor hesitated, his long fingers twitched. "No, my queen, but perhaps caution is wise. Some elements within our ranks may act independently." Solara's gaze hardened. "You mean rebellion? Who dares speak such words in my presence?" Before the counselor could answer, a sudden alarm blared throughout the throne room. The lights dimmed, and the walls flickered with red warnings. Solara's sensors detected multiple breaches within the palace shields failing, security drones offline. Her heart sank. The very people she trusted had turned against her. From the shadows, a group of alien warriors emerged, their weapons trained on her throne. Among them were faces she had known for decades, friends, advisors, mentors. All of them now betrayed her. How could you?" Solara whispered, her voice trembling with a mixture of rage and disbelief. The counselor who had warned her stepped forward. "Power, Solara. You have grown too soft. The Empire needs a leader who will not hesitate, who will not question loyalty. Step aside, or be destroyed." Solara rose from her throne, every movement deliberate and regal. She drew upon the energy coursing through her, a gift of her lineage, capable of extraordinary feats. Yet, she knew her enemies had anticipated this. They were ready. The battle began. Energy blasts flashed across the room, illuminating the ornate pillars and the delicate crystalline floors. Solara moved with grace and precision, deflecting attacks and striking back with force that made her attackers recoil. But even with her immense power, she was outnumbered. Her own council had planned every move, and now she faced overwhelming opposition. Amidst the chaos, the sound of the palace doors opening echoed through the hall. Solara's attention snapped toward the noise. A figure stepped inside a human. Humans were rare in this sector, often dismissed as weak and fragile. Their presence here was unexpected, almost impossible. The human looked ordinary at first glance, with soft brown hair and eyes wide with fear. But there was a strange determination in his gaze. The traitorous counselors sneered. "A human? What can it do?" "Step aside." The human did not move. Instead, he stepped closer to the fray, avoiding energy blasts with surprising agility. He moved not with the skill of a warrior trained in alien combat, but with a cunning that Solara immediately recognized. Humans, she thought, were unpredictable. One of the counselors lunged toward her with a sharp blade of shimmering energy. Before Solara could react, the human intercepted, grabbing the counselor's wrist and twisting it in a way that sent him sprawling to the floor. The others hesitated, shocked at this human's boldness. Solara's mind raced. Should she trust him? Could she rely on a species she had always considered fragile and inexperienced? Yet, there was no time for hesitation. She was bleeding. Her armor cracked, her energy reserves low. The human's actions bought her precious seconds she needed to survive. No, me toques. Humano, she whispered, warning him. She did not trust easily, and she did not wish for help she could not control. Yet, even as she said the words, she realized she had no choice. The human nodded slightly, respecting her warning, but continued to defend her. He moved with clever timing, using the environment to his advantage, sending pillars crashing into the attackers, triggering security systems she thought were lost, and guiding Solara away from the most dangerous areas. The palace was a maze of corridors and chambers, designed to protect the throne and hide secrets. Solara led the human through hidden passages, her mind alert for traps and ambushes. She realized, with a mixture of fear and admiration, that the human seemed to anticipate danger in ways even she had not. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. Together, they navigated the labyrinth of the palace, narrowly avoiding the remaining loyalists of the council, who had turned rogue. Solara began to understand that humans were not strong in the same way aliens were. They could not withstand massive energy bursts or fight like her warriors, but their cleverness and adaptability were extraordinary. Finally, they reached a secluded chamber deep beneath the palace. Here, Solara could tend to her injuries and catch her breath. She sat upon a low platform, wincing as her body ached from the battle. The human stood nearby, silent, watching the entrances and exits, ever vigilant. "You are remarkable," Solara said softly. "I underestimated your kind." The human shrugged. "I do what I must," he replied. "I didn't come here to fight you. I came to help." Solara's eyes narrowed. "Help or interfere?" "Both," he said simply. "Sometimes, the two are the same." Solara studied him. There was honesty in his words, a clarity she had rarely seen among her own people. She allowed herself a brief moment of trust, though she did not reach out or let her guard down entirely. Humans were strange creatures, fragile, yet resilient, simple, yet complex. "We cannot stay here," she said, rising unsteadily. "They will search every corner of the palace. We must move to a secure location." The human nodded. "I know a place," he said, producing a small device. It projected a holographic map, highlighting a hidden escape route that Solara had never discovered. "This way." "I know a place." "This way." As they moved, Solara reflected on the betrayal she had endured. She had been deceived by those she trusted most, left wounded and humiliated. And yet, in the midst of her despair, she had found an unlikely ally, this human. They reached the outskirts of the palace, where small hovercrafts were hidden. The human guided her into one, activating its engines. The craft lifted silently, gliding into the dark expanse of space. Below them, the palace burned with controlled explosions, the result of the human's clever sabotage to delay pursuit. Solara remained silent, her mind a storm of anger, grief, and curiosity. She had always believed that humans were weak, incapable of true heroism. Now, she was beginning to see the truth. They were dangerous in ways that were unexpected, unpredictable, and immensely valuable. "Where are we going?" she asked finally. "To safety," he replied. "Then, we plan." Solara looked at him, a mixture of caution and respect in her gaze. "Do not touch me," she whispered again, though her tone had softened slightly. It was a command, but also an acknowledgement. She needed him, though she would not admit it outright. The human nodded, keeping his distance but staying close enough to protect her. "Understood," he said. As the craft glided through the void, Solara allowed herself a brief thought. Perhaps this human was the key to regaining her empire. Perhaps he was more than just a survivor. Perhaps he was the spark she needed to ignite a revolution. Outside, stars streaked past like silver rivers. Inside, two unlikely allies began a journey that neither of them fully understood. Trust would be fragile, danger ever present, and betrayal still a shadow in the corners of their minds. Yet for the first time in many cycles, Solara felt a glimmer of hope. In the distance, the rogue counselors plotted, unaware that their greatest obstacle was not the queen herself but a human, underestimated and underestimated again, who might change the fate of the entire empire. And thus began the first chapter of an alliance that would shake galaxies, test loyalties, and redefine the meaning of strength. Humanity, in its cleverness and unpredictability, had entered the game, and the universe would never be the same. The hidden chamber floated silently in the void of space, a secure outpost far from the palace that Solara once ruled. Its walls shimmered with a faint, protective energy, ancient technology from a time before even Solara's ancestors had ruled. The queen leaned against a console, her wounds slowly healing. Yet her mind raced. She could still feel the sting of betrayal, the faces of those she had trusted, staring back at her like daggers. The human, whose name was Elias, observed her carefully. He did not speak at first, letting her gather her thoughts. Humans were cautious by nature, he knew. But in Solara's case, her caution was sharpened by betrayal and power. Finally, Solara broke the silence. "You have saved my life, human. I do not know why. And yet, here you are. Tell me, why risk so much for one who is almost a stranger?" Elias adjusted his stance, his gaze steady. "Because it was the right thing to do," he said simply. "Because if someone doesn't act, who will? And because I see what others refuse to see. You are not defeated." "Not yet." Solara's eyes narrowed. "Humans speak of courage often, yet you do not always understand its cost." "I understand enough," Elias replied, "and I understand loyalty, even if it is new to me. You have enemies who know your strengths, who have betrayed your trust. But I know you are clever, and I can help." Solara considered his words carefully. She knew she could not reclaim her empire alone. Her armies were fractured, her council torn, and the rogue leaders had seized critical positions. Yet, Elias's presence was a chance, an unexpected advantage, in a galaxy that underestimated humans at every turn. "We will need a plan," Solara said finally, "and I will need to trust you, even if only a little. Understand this. One misstep, and I will act as though you were my enemy." Elias inclined his head. "Understood. But I have a suggestion. Let us start small. Secure your palace first. Reclaim the loyalists. And then, take back what is rightfully yours." The first days were quiet. Solara used the hidden chamber to recover her strength, while Elias examined the alien technology and studied the palace's layout. His mind worked differently from Solara's counselors, where they relied on brute force and rigid logic. Elias relied on adaptability and intuition. He asked questions, tested systems, and proposed strategies that were often unorthodox. Solara found herself both frustrated and impressed. "You take liberties with my technology," she said one morning, watching him adjust a defensive field generator. "I take advantage of possibilities you might overlook." Elias replied, smiling faintly. "Sometimes, being clever matters more than being strong." Solara's eyes softened for a brief moment. Humans, she realized, were not strong in the ways aliens were. They could not channel energy like she could, nor could they survive wounds as easily, but they thought in ways no alien could predict. Their ingenuity and resourcefulness made them dangerous allies or dangerous enemies. Their first challenge came sooner than expected. Sensors detected a patrol of rogue counselors approaching a nearby supply station, which held critical energy reserves. If the rebels captured it, Solara's ability to mobilize loyal forces would be crippled. "We must act," Solara said, her voice steady. "We cannot wait." Elias nodded. "Then we act. Differently." Solara followed him to a small shuttle, compact but agile. As they approached the station, she noticed how Elias moved with precision, guiding her through blind spots and weak points in the patrol's formation. When the rebels discovered them, they were already too late. Elias had rigged the environment cleverly. Crystalline walls slid into place, creating temporary barriers. Energy conduits diverted power in ways that confused the attackers, making it appear as though reinforcements were everywhere. The rebels hesitated, unsure of what they faced, giving Solara the opening to strike. Solara unleashed controlled energy bursts, incapacitating rather than killing, conserving her strength for the battles ahead. Elias anticipated the rebels' moves, predicting every retreat and advance. Together, They turned what could have been a deadly confrontation into a decisive victory. After the battle, Solara regarded Elias with a mixture of respect and caution. "You act like a general," she said. "Yet your species does not fight like soldiers." "No," Elias admitted. "But we survive. That counts for something." The Queen realized then that survival was only part of the story. Humans thrived because they adapted, because they refused to follow predictable patterns. Their very nature made them unpredictable weapons against enemies who relied on control and routine. Days turned into weeks. Solara and Elias reclaimed territory, rallying loyalists and restoring order to fractured forces. They worked together in ways that surprised even Solara. She had always believed that power alone dictated outcomes, but Elias showed her the power of creativity, intuition, and daring. Yet, trust remained fragile. Solara had been betrayed once. She could not forget the counselors who had turned on her. Even Elias, though loyal, remained at a distance, respecting her boundaries and acknowledging her command. Their alliance was functional, necessary, but delicate. One evening, as the two of them planned their next move in the hidden chamber, Solara spoke softly, almost to herself. "I underestimated your kind," she said. "I thought humans fragile and insignificant. Now, I see that you can be more." "Now," Elias looked at her, unsure whether this was praise or a warning. "More? How?" "Ah. How? More than we allow ourselves to imagine," Solara replied. "Clever, brave, adaptable, perhaps even indispensable." Elias smiled faintly. "I've heard that before, in other words, but it is nice to hear it from someone who knows." Their conversation was interrupted by an alert. The holographic map of the Empire lit up, showing movement across multiple sectors. The rogue counselors had coordinated a major offensive, targeting key communication hubs and resource depots. "They are planning something big," Solara said, her eyes narrowing. "We must be ready." Elias studied the map. "We can predict some of their moves, but not all. They will expect direct attacks. But what if we do the unexpected?" Solara tilted her head, intrigued. "Explain." Elias gestured to the map. "We create diversions, false targets, illusions, make them think we are attacking one place while we strike another. Use unpredictability against them." Solara considered this. It was unconventional, dangerous even, but it had potential. Humans, she realized, thrived in chaos. Their minds could adapt where alien logic failed. "Very well," she said finally. "We will do it your way. But if this fails..." "It won't," Elias interrupted gently. "Because we will not fail together." The battle plan was set. Solara mobilized loyal forces, while Elias coordinated smaller strike teams and traps. Every move was designed to confuse the enemy, to exploit their assumptions, and to turn their confidence into hesitation. The first stage of the counteroffensive was a success. Rebel scouts were trapped in illusions, caught between moving forces and environmental hazards engineered by Elias. Solara's energy blasts targeted only the necessary points, conserving power while sending a clear message. The Queen was not defeated, yet the rebels adapted quickly. They were clever, experienced, and desperate. A direct confrontation was inevitable. Solara and Elias prepared for the second stage, knowing that the outcome could determine the fate of the Empire. During a quiet moment, as they watched the holographic map flicker with activity, Solara spoke. "I did not expect to find an ally in a human," she admitted. "I did not expect to feel hope." Elias looked at her with quiet determination. "Hope is not a weakness. It is the beginning of strength. And right now, we need every advantage we can find." Solara allowed herself a small smile. For the first time since the betrayal, she felt a sense of possibility. Together, she and Elias had begun to turn the tide. reclaiming control, restoring order, and demonstrating that humanity's cleverness could rival even the most advanced alien minds. But the rogue counselors were relentless. They were adapting, learning from each engagement, and preparing their final, decisive strike. Solara and Elias both knew the next battle would be the most dangerous. Victory was not guaranteed, and yet, for the first time in many cycles, Solara felt a strange reassurance. Humans, she realized, were not just survivors, they were catalysts. Their ingenuity, daring, and resilience had saved her once, and now it could save her empire. The hidden chamber hummed with energy. Quiet for now, but charged with anticipation. Solara tended to her wounds, preparing herself for the trials ahead, while Elias studied every detail of their enemy's movements. Together, they formed a bond forged in necessity, tempered by respect, and guided by strategy. In the dark expanse of space, among stars that seemed indifferent to mortal struggles, two unlikely allies prepared to reclaim a throne, restore order, and challenge expectations. The galaxy had underestimated them both, and that would be the mistake that changed everything. For Solara, the betrayal had been personal. For Elias, it was an opportunity to prove that humanity could shine, even in the most alien and dangerous corners of the universe. The alliance was uneasy, fragile, and full of tension, but it was growing stronger with every challenge. And as the first signs of the rebels' counterattack appeared on the horizon, Solara whispered once more, "Do not fail me, human." "I will not," Elias replied, his voice steady, unwavering. And with that, they prepared for the storm that would decide the fate of the Empire. The stars stretched endlessly outside the shuttle's viewport, but inside, the tension was thick. Solara, the alien queen, stood at the console, her eyes sharp and calculating. Elias, the human who had become her unexpected ally, hovered near the navigation panel, studying the tactical display. The rogue counselors had amassed their forces. Their fleets moved in perfect synchronization, their soldiers ready to strike at the capital planet, the heart of Solara's empire. The queen's loyalists were outnumbered, but she had a secret advantage: Elias and his unorthodox strategies. "Are you ready?" Solara asked, her voice steady, though the weight of responsibility pressed upon her. Elias nodded. "I've never been more ready. They think they can predict us. They think they know how we'll fight. They don't. That's the edge we have." Solara allowed herself a small, approving nod. Humans were unpredictable in ways that even the most advanced alien minds could not calculate. Their intuition, combined with courage, was something she had never fully appreciated until now. The first phase of their plan involved distraction. Small squads of human-led fighters, using modified alien tech, created decoys throughout the orbiting system. Sensors picked them up, showing movements where none of the main forces actually existed. Meanwhile, Solara's loyal fleets positioned themselves in hidden sectors, ready to strike at the rebels' weak points. Elias explained the next step. "We split their focus. While their main fleet chases the decoys, we hit their command centers. Quick, precise, and unexpected. If we take out the leaders, the rest will falter." Solara studied the display. "It is risky. If we fail, the Empire falls. Then we don't fail," Elias replied simply. As the first decoy ships moved into position, alarms blared on the rebel command vessels. Their leaders realized too late that they were being misled. Solara's fleet, guided by Elias's insight, struck swiftly and without warning. Energy bursts disabled communications, boarding teams infiltrated command ships, and the counselor's soldiers found themselves trapped in confusion and chaos. Solara herself joined the fray, her powers blazing. She moved with grace and precision, striking only where necessary, conserving strength, and demonstrating that she was not just a figurehead but a true leader. Elias guided her movements, predicting enemy maneuvers with uncanny accuracy. Together, they were unstoppable. Yet, even with their clever tactics, the rogue counselors were formidable. They adapted quickly, forcing Solara and Elias to improvise. The queen realized that this battle would test not only their skills but their trust in each other. In the midst of the fight, Solara's thoughts drifted to her people, the loyalists who had remained true despite fear and uncertainty. Their courage, combined with the humans' ingenuity, gave her hope. She had been betrayed, yes, but now she was reclaiming her empire with allies she had never expected. Elias spotted an opening. "Target the central energy core of their flagship," he said urgently. "If we take it out, the rest will have to retreat or surrender." Solara focused, channeling her energy into a precise strike. The core erupted in a controlled explosion, sending shockwaves through the surrounding fleet. Rebel ships scrambled, confused and leaderless. The tide of battle shifted dramatically. As the dust settled in space, Solara's fleet moved in for the final push. Loyalist forces reclaimed strategic stations, and rebel soldiers surrendered or fled. The rogue counselors, realizing their defeat, attempted to escape, but Solara had anticipated this. Elias's strategies had trapped every exit route. Finally, Solara confronted the last of her betrayers aboard the shattered remnants of the rebel flagship. The counselors looked at her, defeated and desperate, but the queen did not strike immediately. Her power was immense, but she had learned the value of control and mercy. "You betrayed me," she said calmly, her voice echoing through the chamber. "You sought power at the cost of the empire." "Why?" 10, the counselors faltered. We believed you were weak, that you would fail," one of them admitted. Solara's gaze hardened. "Weak? Perhaps I allowed myself to appear so. But underestimating humans, and now underestimating me, was your greatest mistake." Elias stepped forward, his presence a reminder of the unexpected strength that had turned the tide. "It's not just her," he said firmly. "It's the people who refuse to follow predictable rules. That's what changes the game." The counselors, seeing no escape and no chance of victory, surrendered fully. Solara nodded to Elias, acknowledging the human's crucial role. Without him, her victory would not have been possible. Returning to the capital planet, Solara addressed her people. The throne room was filled with loyalists, cheering and relieved. Their queen, wounded but unbroken, stood tall, and beside her, Elias remained quietly respectful, observing but not intruding. "My people," Solara began, her voice resonant, "we have faced betrayal, challenges, and near defeat. But we endured. Today, we reclaim what is ours not just by power, but by courage, ingenuity, and loyalty." The crowd erupted in applause, their hope renewed. Solara's gaze met Elias's, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. He had proven humanity's worth, not through brute force, but through cleverness, adaptability, and courage. Days passed as Solara restored order across the empire. Systems once controlled by the rogue counselors were stabilized, and alliances with loyal planets were reaffirmed. Through it all, Elias remained by her side not as a subject, but as a partner in strategy and vision. One evening, atop the palace balcony, Solara looked out at the stars. The galaxy stretched endlessly, full of possibilities and threats alike. Elias joined her, his gaze following hers. "You have changed the way I see your species," Solara said softly. "I once thought humans fragile, insignificant. Now I see potential, strength that cannot be measured by weapons or power alone." Elias smiled. "We survive because we adapt. We thrive because we take risks. And sometimes, we make a difference when no one expects it." Solara nodded. "Indeed. And you have made a difference that will be remembered across generations." A soft hum of energy surrounded them as the palace's defense systems adjusted for the night. Solara allowed herself a moment of reflection. The betrayal had been personal, the wounds deep, but through it all, she had found an ally, a new perspective, and a renewed sense of purpose. Do you ever fear that this is temporary? Elias asked quietly. That the galaxy will always find a way to challenge us? Solara considered his question. Perhaps, she admitted. But we are stronger now. Stronger together. In ways neither of us could have achieved alone, the human nodded. Then let's make sure they never underestimate us again. And so, the alliance between Queen and human was solidified. Humanity had proven its ingenuity and courage, showing that even the smallest, most underestimated species could shape the fate of entire civilizations. Over the following cycles, Solara and Elias worked to strengthen interstellar diplomacy, forging new alliances and preparing for any threat that might arise. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans were not to be dismissed, underestimated, or overlooked. Their creativity and bravery had saved an empire, and their potential was limitless. Solara's people came to respect Elias not only for his cleverness, but also for his unwavering loyalty. And as the queen stood on the balcony each night, looking at the stars that now seemed filled with both challenge and possibility, she whispered a private acknowledgement. You are remarkable, human, and together, we are unstoppable. Elias remained silent, but a faint smile crossed his face. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy not through domination, but through courage, ingenuity, and the ability to act when others faltered. And in doing so, they had helped a queen reclaim her throne and a civilization regain its strength. The galaxy would never be the same. For Solara, the betrayal had transformed into a lesson in trust and alliances. For Elias, the adventure had proven that humanity could rise to meet challenges far beyond their world, changing the fate of stars themselves. And together, they stood as a symbol, a reminder to the universe that the underestimated, the clever, and the brave could achieve the impossible. The stars continued to shine, endless and bright, as the queen and the human prepared for the future, united in purpose, vision, and respect.